Hello, everybody. We are live. Can you hear me and can you see me? How are we all doing tonight? Thought it was time we would do another Seahawks stream because it's been some time. It's been a handful of days, maybe even a week, maybe more since we've done one of these. So, I know we are in the middle of July, the slow time for NFL news. There's not a whole lot going on with these Seahawks right now. But that's not to say there is nothing going on right now because we got some stuff. We have some stuff. And I think it's worth talking about for a little bit here. So, there are going to be two main topics that I want to introduce in this stream. The first being the fact that Jody Allen came out with a press release earlier today saying that her teams, which are the Seahawks and the Trailblazers, are not for sale, and that while she will eventually have to sell them, it may take as long as 20 years before that happens, and that she believes that dissolving the trust is going to take a considerable amount of time. So, a decent number of people, myself included, figured we were on a pretty tight timeline with the sale probably being finalized in about 2 years, and she's saying maybe not. So that is interesting and worth talking about. The other subject that I think is interesting right now is the Baker Mayfield stuff, which on this one, I was correct. I said that I believe the Baker Mayfield rumors were generated from Baker's camp, and now we have what seems to be confirmation that Baker Mayfield was inventing the rumors to the Seahawks out of whole cloth. We now have multiple reports that say that the Seahawks were never interested in Baker and seem content to go through with the quarterbacks that they have, which I think is the right thing to do for many reasons that I've been through. Those are the main things happening with the Seattle Seahawks right now. Still waiting for news on Chris Carson, although I kind of believe that no news is probably bad news. So, not a whole lot to talk about there, but those are the main topics I want to introduce. So, we're going to go for about an hour tonight, just talking about whatever Seahawks stuff you guys want to talk to. I'm going to field comments the best that I can. Not expecting a huge turnout because things are still so slow, but I want to do one of these at least every now and then. So, before we get started, we have our sub goal for July. It's just like another 88. Sub gains have been pretty slow lately, obviously, because nothing's going on. So, if you are here and you're not subbed yet, definitely click the sub button. We have a member goal of 110, so we need 12 more this month. Probably not going to happen because, again, I don't think anything's going to happen in July. We do, however, have stream goals for super chats and tips. If you want to know how to tip, just do ! Tip in the chat. And super chatting is pretty obvious, so those are the best ways to support the stream. So if you want to support me that way, it is appreciated. And you can always, of course, like the stream and participate in chat. We have 40 people in here now, so I'm going to go ahead and get underway. So I talked about the Jody Allen thing already today. So I've already kind of covered my thoughts on it, but I don't particularly mind if Jody wants to continue to own this team for this foreseeable future. And if we get on our feet again quickly in the coming 2 years, it's actually very beneficial to not have an owner who's getting ready to pull the rug out. It's actually very good to have an owner who is planning to be there for a while because they should be willing to spend long-term money without issue. Now, the press release could be a lie, and she could be planning to sell the team at the first opportunity, I suppose. But that's a conversation that needs to be had at a different time. And that is a question that cannot be answered for another couple years. Thank you, Eric Maxwell. Appreciate it. So I think this is probably good news. If we hit our rebuild, if we hit this 2-year rebuild the way I want us to, the way we all hope they do, then that means the offseason of 2024 will be the year to go all in. And we can't go all in if an owner is unwilling to spend money because she's trying to sell the team. So not having to worry about that angle is very good. Now, admittedly, I'm a little skeptical of the idea that the trust simply allows her to sell the team whenever she wants to. And I'm a little skeptical that Paul Allen would be okay with a circumstance where the team would be sold after such a long period of time that Jody herself may have passed away by then, because 20 years is a long time. But I I'm going to say this is probably a positive development. We have seen that Jody Allen has displayed an interest in helping the team. We have seen her maybe be a little more hands-on than some people, myself included, maybe expected. And at this point, I would say that Jody has an opportunity to prove that she can be an effective owner, because if you have the money, that's the hard part. Being an effective owner should not be that hard in the NFL. So I think it's good that we're at least opening this door. I was a little afraid we were going to be basically on borrowed time for the next 2 years, but now maybe not. So those are my basic thoughts on that. Now, as for the Mayfield thing, I have not yet made a video on that, although you guys already all know my thoughts on the Baker Mayfield situation. So, quite simply, Baker Mayfield sounds like he was the genesis of the rumors that the Seahawks wanted him, because now we are learning from other reports the Seahawks don't want him and never really wanted him. So, no matter how much this quarterback room looks relatively hopeless right now with Drew Lock and Geno Smith and Jacob Eason, the team seems pretty comfortable with that. And I like that. So I think that's the right thing to do. I think the right thing to do is just play Lock and Smith this year, see what happens. If things go well, then great. But more realistically, you're just going to have a bad year, and that's okay. But the Baker Mayfield stuff never really made sense anyway, so it doesn't surprise me that we are now learning that it was a bunch of bull, so happy about that. And that's really all I can say about those two main topics. So, I'm going to start taking comments now. Please like the stream if you haven't already, by the way. We've got 46 people in here and 10 likes. Brandon. Baker didn't make sense to begin with. Pete was confident in the QB room, and if they would have traded for him, they would have done it. Minicamp time is important for QBs coming in for chemistry. Yeah, there were a lot of reasons why the Baker stuff didn't make sense. That was one of them. The mere fact that there should be no competition for him. If you want Baker, if a team out there wants Baker Mayfield, they are probably the only team that wants him, because nobody else wants him. I think that's become pretty clear looking at it. I'm not getting the sense that any other team wants him. So you have apparently not the Seahawks, so the only team on the list right now would probably be the Panthers. If not the Panthers, then he's probably just not going to go anywhere. So if you are trying to bid on him, you should not have to bid much of anything, because they have no leverage. So, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why that Baker stuff never made any sense. They changed the channel members badge. Yeah, Austin, I noticed that. I kind of like the old ones. I can actually make the channel member badges whatever I want. So what might happen is that I do some custom members badges. You can make them whatever you want. So maybe I'll do that. I'm going to have to think about what they're going to be. Probably like famous Seahawks, I guess. I don't know. Maybe the Seahawks like someone in USFL. I doubt it, Mad Wolf. None of those quarterbacks look like NFL quarterbacks to me. Like, who's the best quarterback in the USFL? Is it KJ Costello? Is it Alex Magoo? We saw what Alex Magoo was in the NFL. He couldn't even hack it in the preseason. And he is now a USFL champion. So I don't think the USFL is where we're looking, Mad Wolf. James Black, so what happens now if Locke comes in and plays well? Big money? He'd have to play really well, but that would have to be what happens. He's in the last year of his deal. And I don't think the Seahawks front office would hit on a plutonium vein and then just let it go. So I guess if Drew Lock does have a big year, you are going to give him big money, which I'm not crazy about. But I always tell people if the player is good, then just pay him. Stop complaining so much about a couple $1,000,000. Stop worrying about that stuff. You draft well, it'll all work out. Now, when you need to draft well, of course, but that's kind of on the job description for running an NFL team. So, if Drew Lock has an awesome year and you decide, okay, we need to give him $200 million, then I'm not going to be too upset about it. There are still ways to make money. By the way, it should be pointed out that the Rams were paying more money to their quarterbacks last year than the Seahawks ever paid to Wilson, because they were paying $20 million to Goff, more than $20 million dead for Goff, and then they were paying Stafford, and they still won the Super Bowl. So don't tell me it can be done. I don't want to hear that anymore. But yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. K Ruiz, hey Brandon, been a while since Brendan, hey, been a while since I've been able to tune in. Well, welcome, K Ruiz. Good to see you. Good to see you, K Ruiz. Appreciate your presence. Yeah, Austin, I'm gonna look into that. Jeff, what's up with DK Metcalf? He's making it known that he wants his money, and at this point, there's really nothing to do except give him the money. Especially now that Jody has said she plans to be here for a while. That was the last excuse. So this should be done. Alexander, I wouldn't want him to stay unless he plays Pro Bowl level. Yeah, we have to be very picky here because for that amount of money, you need to be very picky. But that's okay. I if he does meet those high standards, then you can definitely keep him. Grug, do you agree with Hawks Nest that the top QBs in next year's draft are Levis, Stroud, and Jefferson in that order? That's pretty close. I don't know if I'm there with Jefferson yet, but he's very close. Maybe I would put him third. The only issue with Jefferson is that he doesn't fit our offense at all. So I'm looking at guys more like Levis and Stroud. And even a guy like Van Dyke probably fits our offense better than Jefferson would. But Jefferson's a better prospect, if that makes sense. Jeff Fornell, go Hawks? Yep, go Hawks. Aaron, hey Brendan, how's your day going? It's going pretty good, Aaron. Going pretty good. Amari Taylor, how do you feel about CJ Stroud if he comes to Seattle? I like CJ Stroud more than I thought I would. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. I don't like him as much as Levis. I'm a big Levis guy, but Stroud is probably the number 2 guy for me right now. If Seattle got him, I would not be unhappy about that. That being said, I need to see more from him this year. I need to continue to see great things from him. Jeff, do you think it will happen? It has to happen, I think, Jeff. There's nothing else to be done. Either you do it or you don't. And if you don't, you're basically saying, okay, we're just going to sit him down for a year, I guess. Or you're going to have him really pissed off when he shows up. So, yes, I do. Michael, I like Richardson from Florida. I like him too, but he's barely played, so we got to see more. We gotta actually see him play an extended amount of snaps this year. But theoretically, Richardson should be really fun as a prospect. I'm definitely interested in what he can do. Mark Sanchez, hey Brendan, when will Carson get cut? At this point, I don't think the timing matters as long as you do it before the season starts. So maybe they're just gonna keep trying to drag him along until you get to the end of training camp and hope that something happens. But I feel like the bad news has already been delivered, and he is probably just out of the picture going forward. So I don't know when. The only thing that really matters at this point, as far as I know, is does it happen now, or does it happen before the season starts, or it doesn't happen at all. It's not like monetarily it makes a difference. So it is what it is to me. Jeff, if Pete Carroll talks competition, why doesn't D. Lewis compete with Jackson? Well, I think there is going to be competition there, but the problem is the problem is not competition. The problem is he's still playing Lewis at left guard. That is incredibly brain dead. There are things Carroll does that I don't like and don't agree with, but I get it. The Damian Lewis thing is so brain dead. I don't understand that at all. He was a really good right guard as a rookie, and then he was a below average left guard as a sophomore. Like what are you expecting to happen here? I don't understand that. But we do have indications that we are going to see competition at guard. Lewis, Jackson, and Haynes are all going to get a chance, which I like. I just really wish that it would shake out so that Haynes is left, Lewis is right. Those guys have chances to be long-term solutions for this team, and Gabe Jackson doesn't. I don't think Gabe Jackson's going to be here next year, even if he plays good. And he's a pretty good player, so it's not about that. It's about where does this fit in? Brandon, this question was on my mind. In what situation do you think we keep Penny after this year? What would you do if he goes off and stays healthy? Him and K9 could be very dangerous. I don't think there's any way you keep him. In order for you to keep him, he would have to play well, but then miss most of the games. So then you're like, okay, we can get him cheap and hope it sticks. And if it doesn't, then whatever, we're not going to be out that much money. But if he plays bad, then you're not going to want him back. And if he plays really good, he's going to want money. And we just drafted a running back. And there are running backs in every draft. There are running backs in every free agency pool. So I don't see any way Penny's back unless he has a good year that's like 6 games or 7 games. And nobody wants to pay him, so we eventually do. I don't think you can pay a running back big money when you just drafted what's his name? Kenneth Walker. Aaron, would you want to have KJ back, Brendan? We were able to prevent teams to gain some yards from screens since that was KJ's jobs. After he didn't sign last season, teams have ran over us using screens. No, Aaron. I don't think KJ would be able to do that very well anymore at this point. In fact, I'm pretty sure that in Las Vegas last year, he didn't play on passing downs almost ever. Like, he was basically never in coverage, and he was not an impact player. He was not particularly valuable to them. He had a couple of decent moments, but overall, there's not a lot there, and now he's a year older. So the KJ Wright thing, I don't look. Jurassic World Dominion and Star Wars Rise of Skywalker taught us that just leaning on nostalgia is bad. If you bring back KJ Wright, it's basically trying to do what Jurassic World Dominion did. And that movie's bad. It's trying to do what Rise of Skywalker did. That movie's bad. So don't be bad. Be good. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Mr. Atwood, how much will we save in the cap by cutting Carson? I'm not sure if we save anything. I'm not sure if we save anything because he's injured. And remember, Cam Chancellor got paid his full contract because he got injured playing football. So we might not save anything. It's not really about the money, though, because even if we do save something, I think it'll be a few $1,000,000 that doesn't matter that much. This is more about, can he actually help this team? Does he have any value to this team? Michael, regardless, there are about 6 QBs first round worthy next year. I think we're drafting a guy regardless of how Locke plays. Yeah. Yeah, not necessarily in the first if Locke kills it, but there are quarterbacks in the second and third round who I kind of like. Guys who are going to be interesting, like, Spencer Rattler. I'm not going to say we should get him, because as of right now, I don't think we should. But Spencer Rattler may go very late in this draft because of off the field issues, but he's very interesting to me as a football player. So you could get him late. Yeah, Costa Rican. Yeah, we're definitely drafting someone next year. At some point, yeah. Will Holst, how about the Mariners winning 12 of last 15 games? Yeah. Yeah, Will. Things are good, man. This pitching staff is killing it. No problem, Michael. Costa Rican sports fan. It's the most promising class since 2018. It might be more promising than that one, honestly. 2018 had Baker Mayfield go number one overall, and there were a lot of teams that didn't even think he was a first round pick. So I don't think that class was all that. Reaper, almost 9K subs, keep it up. Yeah, it's been really slow lately, Reaper, because nothing's going on. But once preseason and even I guess I should say training camp starts, it'll pick up for sure. Costa Rican, I doubt Locke kills it though. I don't see more than 8 wins with him. I see like 7, but it could be less. I don't know. I'm not a big Locke guy, but I want to see what he can do. It's going to be fun. Amari Taylor, you think we should trade Tyler Lockett that we can give Bo Melton a chance? We can't really trade Lockett. It's too much dead money. We would have to pay him a ton of money to trade him. When we gave Lockett that extension last year, we kind of married ourselves to him. We had an opportunity to get out from it this offseason, but we didn't. Excuse me. So Lockett's going to be here for at least another couple more years, I think. I don't think there's any way he's not. And I guess that's okay. He's still a good player. He has value. I think he'll lose a lot of his luster without Wilson, but he'll still be good. So that's not on the table. Austin, thank you for the member message. So glad your channel keeps growing. So deserved. I appreciate it, Austin. Falling sick during June really killed me, but it'll obviously pick up again when the team starts playing football. Costa Rican, 2018 had 5 first rounds, but only 2 hit. If we are drafting, we should be wary about who we get. Yeah, that's always going to be the case, though. And I kind of have this theory. I kind of have this theory that most quarterbacks are capable of being successful. You just have to give them the right situation. And most quarterbacks that fail just never get that situation. Like, I think Matt Leinart could have been good if he had found the right situation. It didn't happen. I think that Daniel Jones could have been good in the right situation. Didn't happen. Most quarterbacks probably could have found success. They just didn't find the right situation. So I think that's more important than getting the right quarterback sometimes. Austin, 2018 has Allen and Lamar. That's it. Baker's okay, but not great. Yeah, but at the time it seemed much better because Baker was hyped. Daniel Jones was hyped. It seemed a little better. Oh, Dwayne Haskins was hyped. Now, Dwayne Haskins turned into a disaster, so obviously that's become kind of comical. And, well, not comical, but kind of much weaker in hindsight. But at the time it was pretty hyped. Just Tags, I'm so excited for preseason because we actually have rookies this year. 1 more month, can't wait. Yeah, Tags, I'm excited for preseason too. Only 3 games, so we'll burn through it quickly. And yeah, there's a lot to look out for in the preseason. I think there is pretty much every year for any team, but this year especially. Husky Gang, hi. How's it going, Husky Gang? Brendan, are you going to any training camps this year? I'm coming all the way from NYC for my 20th birthday for the Lumen Field practice before I go away to football camp. It would be dope to see some of the community there. I'm not sure, Brandon. I usually don't do stuff like that. It's just such a commitment of time and it's just exhausting. I might, though. I'm going to see what I can do. Costa Rican, I'm still pissed about that Lockett extension. That and the Jamal trade are why I don't trust this front office to do anything. I think there's a lot more than that. I don't think the Lockett extension was bad. It probably will end up being a mistake now that we don't have a quarterback. But for all we know, Drew Lock is going to mesh with Lockett really well. It could happen. It happens. So I'm not too mad about that. It's probably suboptimal, but it's not terrible. Husky Gang, do you know Kevin Seymour on the Ravens? Not off the top of my head. Herbicide, what's that lady's name? Josina Anderson. She's lame for starting the latest Breaker drama. Well, that's part of the game, Herbicide. You start stuff, and then you just hope it snowballs from there. And it worked, I guess. But I think I don't know. Like Baker, his rep in the NFL is so much worse than it should be, given how good a player he is. Like he's pretty good. He's all right. So the fact that nobody will touch him is kind of weird. I guess it's because of his personality. So I don't know, but if you're being straight honest, like he should be a starting quarterback in the league. Mark Sanchez, some QBs are just busts. Jamarcus Russell, excuse me, Gabbert. Yeah, those guys would not have succeeded no matter what. Oh yeah, Haskins and Daniel Jones for 2019. I always forget the 2019 draft because I was not watching that draft because I was out of town. Sam Darnold, really sad what happened to him. Yeah, I didn't like Darnold in the draft very much, though, so I wasn't surprised by that. Do you know Kevon Seymour from the Ravens? No, Husky Gang, I do not. Devin Martzall, thank you for getting the ball rolling on the super chats. 4.99. Thank you. Hey Brendan, glad to see you live again. Appreciate what you do. Hoping Locke gets a shot. Go Hawks. Well, he's definitely going to get a shot. It may not last as long as we would prefer. We may have the short hook on him for Gino, but I definitely think he's going to get a chance. MNF Yak Boys, remember Ricky Waters? So, fun little fact, Ricky Waters was the first Seahawk that I really liked. The first Seahawk player that I really was into as a fan. Like, I was watching the team the previous years before Ricky Waters got there, but I didn't have any players that I was really into. Ricky Waters was the first guy that I, like, loved. I don't know, there was just something about him that I really liked. I was way too I'm too I was like what 10, so I don't remember what it was, but I really liked him. David, Brendan, what are your thoughts on Colby? I doubt he'll be anything at this point. If he was going to be something, we probably would have seen it by now. So I doubt it very much. I've kind of forgotten about Colby, and he's not going to get a good chance on this team because we have two tight ends in front of him solidly. Um, Husky Gang, is the Seahawks your favorite team? Yes. Atwood, if we're going to start Lucas at right tackle, are we going to trade or keep Curhan? Oh, you keep him. You keep him. You never trade him. He has no value. He has very little trade value. He's super cheap. He's young. He's great depth. Why? Don't mess with that. Keep Lucas. Keep Lucas starting and keep Curhan backing him up. Alexander Josina responded to the report saying it's not true. So, at the very least, she's committing to her report. Well, at this point, I mean, it's not like she can get in trouble for it, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen? She gets something wrong, which happens all the time when you're reporting news. So, there's no reason for her to not back off. Amari Taylor, Spencer is talented, but he needs to learn how to read a defense and be coachable and be a good team player. Yeah, there are problems there. There are problems there, but he's got ability. I have my eye on him. I will admit it probably isn't going to happen, but I'm open to the possibility. Herbicide, who do you think our guards or wide receivers are going to be this year? Name 5. Metcalf, Lockett, Eskridge, Melton, Swain. Something like that. Devin, I liked Waters as well. A lot of fans probably don't remember him. He was fun. He was just there that one year, I think, mostly to be like the Sean Alexander, like master apprentice type deal. And I think he did help Alexander a lot. David, do you think Disley's going to do much at his age? Disley's not that old. And clearly we think highly of Disley's blocking ability. I think he'll be fine in that role, but he'll probably just catch a couple of passes a game. And that's fine. I don't know if we needed to pay $8 million a year for it, but I think he'll be okay. He'll continue to be a good blocker. There is value there. Yeah, excuse me. Michael Curran has been playing guard as well during OTAs. I heard about that a little bit. I think Curhan was a disaster last year at guard. I don't really want to see that again. But I did hear about that, yeah. All right, so we are about halfway through the stream. I'm going to go, like I said, about an hour. We are now half an hour in. We have over 100 people in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Please like the stream if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content. You can become a channel member by clicking the join button down below for $2 or $5 a month. And we have a stream super chat goal. You can do that by clicking the dollar sign next to the chat. And you can also tip via do exclamation point tip in the chat. Click the link and it'll make it pretty easy. So those are the best ways to support. 1 second. Um, I don't want Rattler. The last thing this team needs is a diva. I don't know too much about his off the field issues, but I know it's not good. But look, he's young. People mature all the time. So, I mean, right now DK Metcalf's a little bit of a space case, right? He does some stuff that he shouldn't do on the field, but he'll probably mature. Most people do. So, I'm not worried about that. Matt, I like KJ Jefferson, reminds me of Cam Newton. Yeah, that's the obvious comparison. And he probably tries to perpetuate that because Cam had a good NFL career. So that's the comparison that makes sense. Now, it also makes me think he's not going to fit what we're trying to do on offense, but what we're trying to do on offense may change next year. So we have to keep an eye on him. James, Lewis Curran, Lucas Cross. That's an exciting young core for your offensive line. Also, hope you've been well, Brandon. Well, I have been fairly well. Lewis, I don't know. I think we're ruining Lewis by playing him at left guard. I would feel very good about him being a long-term right guard for this team, but we're trying to force him to play left guard because right guard isn't nearly as valuable, and he's losing his ability in doing so. It's just kind of a mess. Herbicide, does LJ have a future with this team? No, I don't think so. He barely got on the field last year for a team that wasn't very good. If if LJ Collier was good at football, I feel like we would have heard from him by now. So I just think he's bad. But we are switching to a 3-4. We'll see what he can do. But I just think I don't think he would succeed in any context. He's 25. David, he's 25. Ain't no way that man looks 35. Never really thought about that. But okay. His body is probably feels like it's 35 because he keeps getting hurt. But the last 2 years have been clean. Yeah. Costa Rican James Larson, the problem with that is they're all tackles. Well, you need depth. You absolutely need depth. So there's nothing wrong with having some quality depth of cheap young guys with potential. What's wrong with that? Bash Gordon, let's go Hawks. Yes, Bash Gordon, of course. James Larson, I could see Curran shifting to tackle or Lewis. Curhan already is a tackle. You can't shift to tackle. Lewis Lewis weighs like 340 pounds. There's no way he can play tackle. That would be a disaster. Just tags. Do you think our offense will look better with Locke? Because I feel like Russ always wanted to change the play call and hurting the offense. No tags. I think this offense would look better with some quarterbacks, but Locke's not one of them. He's going to do some things a little better than Wilson did, but he's not going to have the deep ball accuracy. So probably not, but it's still a necessary move the team had to make. Bash, I'm super excited about our young defense, and we were just ranked the eighth best linebacking squad. That was pretty awesome. I'll take any good news. Yeah, and that's with Cody Barton, who is basically a Jag, right? So that's pretty fun. And Nwosu, who's probably a stopgap. That's purely based off, I assume, Brooks, Taylor, Mafe, and we need to keep in mind here that we are probably going to get another inside linebacker next year in the draft who's going to be cheap and good. Like, my guy right now is Trenton Simpson from Clemson. There's Sewell from Oregon, but there are other guys too. So whatever it is. James, or the big question is, does Lewis still make the shift to center? Carroll says they're not playing with that possibility right now. Carroll seems pretty adamant that Lewis is not going to be playing center, at least for the moment. Michael, I think our offense is going to make a complete 360 and look different next year without RW. Yeah, that's almost certainly going to be the case. But you would think it would migrate more towards a Rams type offense. So presumably it would just start to look more like what it was turning into last year, just with a Drew Lock. Mario, thoughts on Julio? Who looked better as a rookie, Julio or Ken Griffey Jr.? I mean, it's not a fair comparison because Griffey was a 19-year-old rookie. I think that comparison is going to mislead people, but Julio probably looks better. He's playing better overall than Griffey was. He's adding more value to the team, I think. And you have to remember he was getting hosed by umps pretty much his entire um, 3 week debut. So I think that Julio's probably a little bit better, but it's not a fair comparison because he's 21 and Griffey was 19. Mark, with all the trades and moves in the NFL that happen in a yearly basis, could the Hawks possibly get Lamar Jackson with our draft space and our draft capital? It wouldn't be a trade. It would have to be just they let him go in free agency, I think. You wouldn't trade for him. That sounds like a bad idea. But you might be able to just sign him, I guess. Amari Taylor, do you like Grayson McCall? Isn't he like 25 years old when he gets drafted? I think he's already 24. That's a little bit of a problem. I don't like that. Alexander, hopefully Julio is different than Griffey so we don't end up trading him. Well, I mean, Griffey never stole bases like Julio does. Julio might steal 40, 45 bases this year. Griffey never did that. Griffey was not quick. He was fat. Was more quick than fast, I think. I don't want Lamar. I feel a drop off coming. Yeah, I don't have any interest in Lamar. I agree with James. I don't want to pay all that money to a quarterback who is falling, who is already starting to have diminishing returns. Okay, that's fair. Do you think Locke is enough to be like Jimmy G or not? Personally, I want us to have a bad record to have a good draft pick. Well, they're kind of very different players. Jimmy G has no arm. He can't throw anything more than like 12 yards. Locke has a monster arm. His problem is decision making and footwork. There are some things I think we're going to do that are going to make his life a little easier than it was in Denver, but I'm not convinced it's going to be enough. I think both players have different problems. I don't think highly of Jimmy G at all. I think Jimmy G's garbage, but I think that him and Drew Lock play so differently. It's hard to compare them. Costa Rican, why though? Why waste all the cap on one guy when getting rid of Wilson allows it? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. We get rid of Wilson and then we get a guy who's going to have all the salary cap issues of Wilson. Although I want to say that I think Wilson's effect on the cap space was overblown significantly by the fans. I think that people put way too fine of a point on that kind of stuff, personally. So I would prefer to go the rookie route because it gives you a few years of cheap labor, and that does make a difference. But if I believe Lamar was going to go back to being an MVP candidate, I would definitely go after him, but I don't see it. David, I love my Seahawks and the Hawks nest, but there's no shot this roster their fielding goes above 500. It hurts my heart to say that. Hey, I mean, trust me, David Pugh, it has to happen sometimes. It may as well happen when it's a controlled burn. You don't want it to happen when you're trying to go in like we were last year. James Larson, I think Locke really could be an impressive player. There's some stuff to like about him. There is some stuff to like about him. Bash, I'm rooting for our run game to be unstoppable. To be honest, I think we have a shot and it would be good because nobody thinks that running backs are worth a damn anymore. At least the tech nerds don't. I don't know if that's true, Bash. I think that they think that if you're not an elite running back, you're not that much better than the fourth tier guys more than anything. And I think that the tech nerds have come to believe that success running the ball as a team has less to do with the ability of the running back than it used to. Brother Abe, is there any answers for these drastic moves by Seattle other than the biggest news break we've ever seen? Hopeful by the Hawks and look forward to Seahawks football regardless, no matter what. Brother Abe, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I don't think this team is going to be making any big moves now, and I don't think they should. I think they should take their medicine for a year. It's fine. Amari says Grayson McCall is 21. You're probably thinking of Jaron Hall. Okay. I've been looking at a lot of quarterbacks. I might be thinking of the dude in Tennessee, Hendon Hooker. But there's one quarterback in this class who's like way too old. He might have done like his Mormon thing or some. He might be a Mormon and he did the 2 year. What do they do? What did the Mormons do? 2 year. They do like a double gap year where they go on a mission. Yeah, that's what they call it, the mission. So if Grayson McCall isn't that guy, then I don't have much to say about him yet. But I am. He is on my list. I know that. David, think the Rams and Cardinals will go down soon, but the Niners will stay stagnant or improve. I don't think the Rams are going to go down this year. They actually signed some players that will help them. Wagner should be better than what they had, and Allen Robinson should be an improvement too. David definitely disagrees. Should be 500 with even decent QB play. I don't know, Brian. I mean, our offensive line probably won't be very good either. Our defense has a lot of young pieces that might take some time. I don't know about that, Brian. Tags, after you said something about Derek Young playing running back, I'd love to see that. I think it would really open up an offense. Yeah, hopefully we do that at least a little bit of the Debo stuff. James, I think Jimmy survived off a great offense. Locke has the upside to be a top 15 QB if he gets the help and support to make the right choices and plays. Yeah, James, but is a top 15 quarterback something that you value? Or is it like that to me leaves you in the middle where you're just like you're okay, you make the playoffs, but that's it. If you're lucky. I don't want a top 15 quarterback, I want a top 5 quarterback. No, Husky Gang, I don't know Josh Shaw. David, nothing would please me more than to see this team to prove all these NFL talking heads wrong and make the playoffs and do damage though. Well, of course, David. Of course. I want to I kind of want to pseudo tank this year, but I would much rather win the Super Bowl than tank. I would much rather make a deep playoff run than tank. I know that. So I think we're all rooting for that. Don, what are things you like about Locke? I think he's got a big arm. I think that the mistakes he makes are fixable. I think the things that he does that are wrong are fixable. So, unlike somebody who I just think is hopeless, I think he at least has potential. And he does have the arm talent that gives you at least a possibility of something going right. Austin, rather go 7-10 with Locke or Gino than with Russ? Yeah, exactly. With Russ, it just infuriates you. With Drew, Locke, or Gino, you understand that there's a bigger goal in mind. All Pro Seahawks, do you think the Seahawks will pay DK? Yes, I do. Brandon, who's going to be in the QB convo for next year's draft in the top 10? I count 3, us, Texans, Detroit. Do you think the Panthers are going to be in it considering they traded up for Coral? Yeah, I don't think they committed themselves to Coral when they spent, what, the 4th or 5th round pick on him. So, yeah, I do think they will be. Costa Rican, they come to third world countries like mine to knock uncontrollably on my door. Oh, really? Herbicide, I heard Deron Payne is unhappy in DC. Would he be worth picking up? I don't know if he would fit the hybrid defense, but I don't know very much about Daron Payne specifically. I know he's a good player, but I am interested in that because Washington won't be able to pay all their defensive guys. They have too many. Josh Sean, the USFL might go to the Hawks. I'm not familiar with that person. Bash, I think we're going to do okay. Honestly, my worry is that we're too good and can't get into the top 20 to get a good rookie quarterback. I honestly think we come in second in our division. Well, even if that happens, you can trade back up. Remember, we have Denver's first and second. We can use those to trade up if we need to, and our own second. Oh, really, David? One of my dad's coworkers used to be a Mormon as well. Ash, the Mormons go on a mission for 2 years. One of the best running backs in our state who went to BYU broke every record we had at the time. Running back completely ruined his career by going on his. Yeah, I think all the BYU players come out and they're already like 30 years old or something. Not 30, but they're old. Payne is a nose tackle? How much does Payne weigh? I thought Payne was like a three tech. Wait, well, it. I don't believe it's really hard to be a nose tackle and a three tech. Most people who say they can do that can really only do one well. It's like, yeah, okay, you're a three tech and nose tackle, but which one are you actually good at? Russell Marqueux, part of me wants the team to go 2-15 so we can get a top pick. But the other part of me wouldn't mind seeing us going like 8-9 because it means we aren't as far away as we might think. I guess, Russell. 8-9, I mean, then you might marry yourself to Locke, and I don't think that's good if that's the best he can do. So I don't know. I'm open to a lot. Oh, really, David? Interesting. Mark, listen, guys, we're going to win 4, 5, or 6 wins. This year is a rebuilding year, no matter what Peter John say. Just look at our opponents, AFC West, in our own division. That's 8 to 10 losses. Yeah, I think we could win 7. I think seven's probably about the best we can do, and I think we probably, with health, are going to win 7 games. But that's not good. That's not anything making me happy. Yeah, Devin, I noticed Bo had a good game. Wasn't he MVP? He should have been. He had over 100 yards. Brian, I think you give Mark Sanchez. I think you give Aaron and San Fran too much credit. I mean, Arizona's not going to be that good, I don't think, but San Fran should be fine unless Trey Lance is terrible. Payne is 320. Eh, maybe. What does he do in our defense, though? Does he play defensive end? Because that's too small to be the nose. Probably. Hot take, Gorilla hot take. We beat the Broncos week 1. I'd love it. No, Drew Lock's not a Mormon. I actually don't mind Mormons. I mean, they it seems mostly pretty harmless, and they seem like they're happy, and they seem like generally good people. I don't have an issue with Mormons. Um, I know a guy who left the Mormon church and got disowned by his family for it. Um, Obviously, I think what they believe is pretty insane. Some of the stuff that they subscribe to sounds crazy, but it also mostly sounds harmless. 2-14 on Madden. I wouldn't hate going 2-14. I'd prefer to give me 4 wins. Give me 4 wins. Give me something to look forward to. Don't make me think like if we go 2-14, then it might be like, wow, these guys I thought were going to be good suck. Like Taylor, not doing it. Maybe the offensive linemen aren't looking good, and then it's just like, oh, okay, abort rebuild. Yeah, I don't have a problem with Mormons. It doesn't seem very it doesn't seem very harmful to me. It's not like Scientology. Like that's actually really toxic, but Mormonism, it's just a little out there. Beto, the Chargers are going to be a powerhouse this year. Yeah, they should be really good. Brandon, they do a lot with him and Jonathan Allen. Payne is good in all categories, in my opinion. They run some 3-4 stuff hybrid, but the other way around, they are primarily in 4-3, though. Yeah, I'm wondering what he would do in our defense. I guess he can do some stuff, but let's focus on building our foundation first, I guess. Yeah, Husky Gang, I can see your messages. I'm just not responding to them because I don't have anything to say to it. I already shouted you out. I already said I don't know who those people are. Calm down. I will say, if we want to get a top end top end free agent next year, it would probably be a defensive lineman or a left guard. And Costa Rican, I never thought they destroyed families. I actually think the Mormon. It seems to me that Mormons are very family oriented. It seems to me like they're actually very, like I've known guys who left the Mormon church because they didn't believe in it anymore because they realized it was crazy, but they were actually really sad because of how close knit the church was and how nice everyone was to each other. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Who do you see winning the Super Bowl first out of all NFC West teams? I feel safely it'll be the Hawks. I think the Rams could win again this year, honestly. nolanrvance, thank you for the $10 super chat. Appreciate it. Good to see ya. Thanks for, as always, for the great content. I appreciate it. Oh, I know they shun people all the time when they leave, but I don't think that's malicious. I think it's just out of ignorance more than anything. Do you think the Hawks have the best well-rounded roster to this date? No. We're very weak at quarterback. We're for the moment we're weak at the offensive line. We have a lot of pieces on the defense that aren't going to be ready this year. No, I don't think the roster's that good. James, Jody said the Seahawks will be sold eventually, but not for upwards of 10 years or more. Yeah, I made a video about that earlier, James. Yeah, Brother Abe, I saw those tweets. It was amusing. I'd be happy as hell if we win against the Broncos week one and do nothing after. What do you think the Broncos' record will be next year? I haven't looked at their schedule yet, Brandon. I don't know. I imagine they win at least 9 games, probably 10. I don't think they're going to win that division, though. I'm going to keep picking Kansas City until there's a team in that division that has a coach that's half as good as Andy Reid. I don't know herbicide. I don't know how that happened, but we are. Brandon, the only thing I want for this season are I want to beat the Broncos first game, I want to beat the Rams, and I want to beat the Niners twice, and I want to beat the Raiders. Well, it's a tall task to do any of those things, Bash. But I'll say this: Pete tends to do fairly well when people are counting him out. Pete tends to do pretty good at keeping the team competitive when they shouldn't be. So if that's how this season ends up going, I'm not going to be terribly upset about it. I mean, look, you could pick in the mid-teens and get Tyler Van Dyke, maybe. And Tyler Van Dyke, we'll see what he does this year. He might end up being an interesting prospect. The Gorilla, can you see Daryl Taylor being like another Von Miller? Yes, Gorilla, I think that's actually a great comp. The Von Miller comparison to me is very, very apt. I don't know if he'll be as good as Von Miller, but I think he's going to be really good. Okay, the stream's going to go for about another 5 minutes here, and then I'm going to. By the way, guys, I am going to be streaming on Twitch tonight shortly after this stream. So whenever I turn the stream off, you jump over to my Twitch. It's in the video and stream description. You can click on it, go over there, follow. We're going to be doing a new game tonight. We're going to be doing Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I've never played before. So it's going to be a new game tonight. I've never played any Fire Emblem before, so we're going to learn about that franchise. So that's going to be fun. Don Pritchett, why is Lockett never talked about like DK? Well, he's not physically imposing the way Metcalf is. He can't physically dominate you like Metcalf does. Lockett in many ways is like a precision player. He's like a scalpel. Metcalf's like a hammer. Mormon's harder than anybody out there. I would not have guessed that. It's probably the hardest division in football. And Russ only won the NFC West twice in the last 7 years, ever since he got paid. So it's not like he was stomping all over our division, even when it was really tough. Oh, Jaron, I don't think there's anything that bad about Mormons. I don't have a problem with Mormons. I don't believe what they believe, and I think what they believe is kind of nuts, but I also think it's pretty harmless. Yeah, Mark, Van Dyke is interesting. When I watched his highlights, nothing impressed me that much, but I'm going to give him a chance to impress me this year. Let's see here. When I watched the highlights, I felt like he was doing a lot of dump offs and checkdowns and letting the receiver do the work, but maybe I was watching the wrong plays. I've never seen Book of Mormon. I've heard it's good. Herbicide. I did like that one South Park episode about the Mormon family. I thought the message behind that episode was actually pretty solid. um, I seriously doubt any place has more Mormons than Utah. That would be pretty hard, Bash. Like that's a challenge. MNF, yay, C boys. Is Chris Carson injured? Still injured? Yeah, I think so. But we haven't been told otherwise. Yeah, herbicide. Hopefully, we get into that a little bit more this year, throwing the 50-50 balls to DK. He needs to prove he can win them a little more, though. Sometimes it seems like he doesn't come down with them the way you would expect him to, based off his um, physical, physical profile. Dak Swag, we don't want Mayfield. We're in a rebuild. Well, you could rebuild with Mayfield, but there's no point in it. You may as well rebuild with what you have. All right. So we've gone for about an hour. I think we've done all we can do for now because nothing's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream now. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Still over 100 people here. Please like the stream on your way out if you haven't already. So I am going to be on Twitch in a few minutes here on my Switch. We're going to be doing Fire Emblem Three Houses. So if that's something that's interesting to you, I hope to see you there. And yeah, hopefully stuff starts happening soon that gives us a little more to talk about. But for the moment, that's all. See you guys soon.